September 11th, it was a beautiful day out and was a lot warmer than normal, and I took the train down like I normally do, and we stopped at the Chambers Street stop, which is in the basement of the World Trade Center, or was at the time. And when the train stopped, the doors opened and we started to get out onto the platform, and there was a sound, and I wasn't sure what it was. No one was sure what it was, but someone said, like, oh, something about a gun. So everyone sort of went back on the train thinking that there was someone with a gun on the platform, but the train doors remained open and nothing really happened. However, the stairways that take you right into the Trade Center, which are the wide stairs, were closed. So a police officer was having everyone go through a narrow stairway that went directly up onto the street. So we got up onto the street, and apparently while we were in the subway, the first plane had hit the towers. So I walked across the street and I looked up and you could see the flames. Well, first it didn't even seem real. Like, you really felt like it was like a movie, like you were going to be able to cut through the screen because the sky was like so blue and the fire was like so red, and it didn't really look real. And at that point people thought it was just, you know, a small plane, and it was New York, so I thought, okay, someone's going to deal with this and I need to get to work. So I started to try to get past people so I could get to work and go about my day. And then all of a sudden the second plane hit the tower, and I ended up being in a building. And I don't remember hearing it. I don't have any recollection of sound, but I was right there, so I must have heard something. And then I realized that this was really serious. And is that when I called you?
No.
Okay.
No,
yeah, help me out.
Okay. So every morning we have a ritual. We have a small dog. At that point he was a puppy, and we would drop Katya off at the subway and then go into Riverside Park, go for a run, whatever. So we did, and it was an absolutely stunning fall day, but it was really wet because it had rained the night before. So I got home, and the dog was filthy, so the two of us went into the tub together and we're having a bath when the phone starts ringing, and it's ringing, and it's ringing, and it's ringing, and finally someone's talking in our machine, and they sounded a little hysterical. So I thought, well, I better find out what the hysteria is all about. Got out, and it was one of Katya's closest friends, a producer, and I picked up when she called again, and she said, "Yeah, I heard from Katya." And I said, "Why? Why would I hear from Katya? She's probably just getting to work." And she said, "Well, a plane went into the tower, so she flip on the TV." So I flipped on the TV, and we're watching, and like everyone, same reaction. What kind of idiot would fly a plane into the tower? And then the second plane went in, at which point I was nervous that I hadn't heard from Katya yet, but I'm waiting, and so a phone call came in. It was in the days of, you know, like call interruptus, and I hung up on Claire and picked up, and it was Katya. And what I said to her was, what you have to do is you need to not look back like Lot's wife, or you'll turn to stone, and you need to run. She said at that point, "I have heels on." I said, "I don't care, take off your heels, break a window, find running shoes, and go northeast, because you're not going to get transportation to the west."
Anyway, I ended up walking up Fifth Avenue for a while because there was no transportation anywhere, and literally all the traffic was stopped, and cabs had their doors open with their radios on loud so everyone could hear what was going on, and stores were the same thing. I really felt, again, it felt unreal, like I was in a movie. It felt like some scene from something. And then I was walking up Fifth, and some kid ran past me, and he was like, "The Pentagon just got hit." And at first I thought he was kidding, and then he repeated it, and then I started to hear on the radio from all the open stores, and I realized, wow, the Pentagon got hit too. And I really felt like, wow, it's the end of the world. And the REM song, It's the End of the World As I Know It, and I Feel Fine, started going in my head, because that's what I felt like. I felt like it was the end of the world as I know it. I didn't know what was going to happen. All of a sudden there were helicopters above me as well. And I didn't know if somebody was invading our country, if someone was taking it over. It just felt completely surreal, completely unreal.
The amount of time that passed from when we spoke and when the cab arrived was over 4.5 hours. And the dog and I, for 4.5 hours, stood on one corner with our money, ready to pay the cab driver. And people on the Upper West Side were coming by and saying, why are you here still? And I was giving people, usually at that point it was moms and kids, info, because people on the Upper West didn't know what was going on, and that turned into then a little bit of a weird panic. But to me, I just knew I had to be standing on my corner with my money. Looking back, it's insane, but that's what happened. So then Katya got home, and do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, go ahead.
So then Katya got home, and it was it was dicey. She watched a little bit of, the coverage, because they kept playing it over and over, and we both looked at each other and thought, this is not doing us any good. And we had heard that there was going to be, we lived near a church called St. John the Divine, which is one of the great cathedrals in New York. So they were going to be doing a service right away, a remembrance service and a prayer service. So we walked over to the cathedral, and it was amazingly crowded that many people actually figured out what was going on that quickly. And we sat down, and the service started, at which point Katya said to me she couldn't stay. So as we were walking back, I said, well, what would you like to do? And she said, I don't know, maybe let's go to the park. Let's get the dog and go to the park. If it's over, if we don't know what's happening next here, we're big tennis players, why don't we just go play some tennis? People saw us and thought we were crazy. Some friends of ours were like, where are you going? We said, we're going to play tennis because we don't know what else to do, and we have some energy to burn here. So off we went, and we hit. And we had a great hit, and it was like something to focus on in a very zen way. And then as we were leaving the courts, these buddies of ours were coming, and they were going to hit. And we all agreed that we would meet for drinks later if there was a later to be had.
And we were sitting outside, and even at 104th and Broadway, you could smell all the burning and the smells from down at Ground Zero, which we didn't know was called Ground Zero yet, but what we now think of as Ground Zero. One of the financial center buildings got completely blown out, not all the way, but severely damaged. And other buildings nearby had to be torn down. My building, however, they decided was structurally safe. And so they wanted us to go back to work as sort of like this show of, that they weren't leaving, that, the companies weren't leaving the area and that they weren't being affected by this. So about 3 weeks later, I went back to work, which was a completely different experience. Now there was guards and soldiers with machine guns and dogs down there. Now we had to put our bags through x-ray machines, which we never had to do before. When I went up to my floor, I was on the 17th floor.
Yeah.
My boss's windows looked directly down into where the trade centers used to be, and it was still burning. There was still smoke. There was, tons of damage. We could look right into where there was damage. We could look into other buildings and see inside, like it was like a dollhouse, and see offices. What the walls were completely gone, and I think it was still a health hazard. It still smelled really badly. So it was really stressful to be down there. I don't know how much more details to say about that, but the long and short of it is, within how long till I left?
Another year,
I was there a whole nother year.
almost 11 months.
I decided to go to grad school, and we ended up leaving New York, and I think a lot of that comes from 9/11.